Hey everybody, I'm Zach Zaldivar, and the music group that I chose was the Eagles. They're like my favorite band ever. I mean, I grew up on them. My dad and my family's actually from Southern California, and they're sort of associated with like that Southern California sound, like the kind of a classic soft rock, folk rock. But Southern California was such a melting pot during the '70s, especially for all these different influences from different groups, and the Eagles really kind of embody so much of that. I have some notes here, just logistics and stuff that I want to talk about, like for instance, when the band started. But first, I wanted to show you guys, this is actually, my wife and I like to listen to vinyls every now and again. And this is actually the Eagles, one of their original albums. It's literally just called Eagles, not even the Eagles, just Eagles. And yeah, those are the original band members right on the back there. And then we also have their second album, which is Desperado, which was actually a lot less popular, but I'll get to that here in a second. I just thought these were kind of cool to show you guys. Okay, so the band was actually formed in 1971, and the founding members were Glenn Frey, who was guitar, Don Henley, who played the drums, Bernie Ledoux, guitar and banjo, and Randy Meisner, who was the bassist. They've sold over 150 million records. Since they originally debuted, and their debut album was that first, the Eagles album or Eagles album, and this big song that people know from there, the two big ones are "Take It Easy" and "Peaceful Easy Feeling." I mean, most people, even if you don't know what that song is exactly, you've definitely heard it before. And I'm gonna play. I actually have. That's one of the two songs I'm gonna play for you guys. Just a little snippet of it so you can kind of hear their style and see what I'm talking about. Their next album, Desperado, which is this one that I showed you, wasn't as popular, and it's kind of funny because Bernie Ledoux, he was a banjo player, and he kind of was more into the rockabilly sound. He wanted them to be more like a rock band with more leaning towards a country influence, like a country western style. But Glenn Frey wanted them to be like a pure rock band, and they came out with this Desperado album, and it really wasn't popular. It didn't do well. It had like two songs on it that made it in the top 40 list, or I think made it to only number 41 possibly. But the band, it's kind of funny that the band was kind of shocked at how poor they did, especially how great their first album was. But two songs, the song Desperado and Tequila Sunrise, are two of their most popular songs now, and I love both those songs. In fact, when I was learning how to play guitar, it was Eagle songs I wanted to learn because the guitaring on it was really simple, but it was fun to play and sing and strum along, and just really interesting music and fun. But yeah, I learned Desperado and Tequila Sunrise. The next really, really big album that they had was Hotel California. That's another song that everybody knows. Welcome to the Hotel California. Everybody knows that, especially from that guitar solo that's in there. But following their timeline through the '70s, they added two members because Bernie Ledoux, their original lead guitarist, left the band because he was butting heads so much with Glenn Frey and deciding which direction the band was going to move. He actually left the band shortly after they added another guitarist named Don Felder. And then throughout the '70s, they added another guitarist named Joe Walsh. And Joe Walsh was he kind of gave him that bad boy persona, that rebellious persona. He was known for trashing hotel rooms. He literally sings songs about trashing hotel rooms and took music videos about trashing hotel rooms. That's what he did. He had his own band at the time, and his own music, but he decided to join the Eagles because they first started just featuring him in some of their concerts. He'd come out and play, and but they got such a positive response from their fans, and they just decided to join them all together, and it started to take that route that Glenn Frey had wanted all along. He wanted to be a rock and roll rebellion, band, and he started to get that adding the two guitarists, especially with later on they started to rock out a lot harder and kind of lose that country sound. But I'll get to that. Yeah, the band actually broke up in 1980. There was such bad blood because it was like nothing was happening for so long, and then they just had like a hot streak, and everything blew up in '72 throughout the rest of the '70s. And I think the band was just really worn out from all the touring and everything. There's actually a really awesome documentary on Netflix. I've probably watched it like 5 times. That's probably too many times, but I really like it. I don't know if it's still on Netflix or not, but I definitely recommend it. And it goes really deep into like why they broke up. But yeah, they broke up in 1980 and they rejoined 1994. And the album actually that they came out with was called Hell Freezes Over, and that was their tour. That was the name of their tour as well, because they said that when they broke up, I think Don Henley, their lead vocalist and drummer, was quoted saying, the Eagles get back together when hell freezes over, and so that they just kind of thought that was sort of unique, and they went along with it. But yeah, they were inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame also in 1998. Now, to get, now that I've gone through kind of just like the numbers and stuff, and I really want to talk about their contributions and sort of their uniqueness and why I like them so much and so many people have liked them and kind of what they've brought to rock and roll as a whole. So sort of interesting, Glenn Frey was from Detroit, Michigan, and he was very influenced by kind of that mainstream rock and roll sound. And he was actually mentored by Bob Seger, from Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, another very popular artist in the 70s. And, so that's where his roots were coming from. When he moved out to California and he met Don Henley, well, Don Henley was from Texas. He was from like a really tiny town, like one stoplight town in Texas. And he was heavily influenced by country and western. He still liked rock and roll music, but that was his roots. That's where he grew up around. And he was mentored by Kenny Rogers, a famous country artist. He sings, most famously, people know The Gambler. He sings that song. And yeah, so those were the two kind of heads of the band. It was Don Henley from that country and western rock-based kind of roots, and then Glenn Frey, who was more traditional rock, kind of the pure rock. And they ended up, coming together and forming this band. And, I wrote down, because I was looking up, I know that they're that kind of classic rock. They're seen as that. But there's a lot of different styles people view them as. They say that, I wrote down different genres, and it says rock, country rock, soft rock, folk rock. And it's really interesting because that's so true, because they incorporate so many different acoustic instruments like the banjo and the mandolin, a lot of acoustic guitar, but they also had two electric guitarists, that, rocked out in a lot of their music. And I think that was the uniqueness of the Eagles, is that they didn't really just stick to one type of rock and roll music. They kind of progressed and, came out with these more country sounding albums and country sounding songs, like the song Desperado, and then they come out with soft rock like Take It Easy or Peaceful Easy Feeling, which are kind of like folky and soft in nature. And then they have the harder songs like Victim of Love and Hotel California, where they're just wailing on the guitar for like 4 minutes. And I think that's the uniqueness of them. The last thing I want to touch on was probably the biggest contribution that they brought to the table was their melodies. They sang, so the harmonies rather. Excuse me. They harmonize better than any band, and obviously I'm a little biased, but I'm gonna play for you Seven Bridges Road, which is like it demonstrates what their vocal capabilities, because they had everyone in the band sing, everyone sang, and it kind of that was sort of their calling card, and that's what really blew them up. So I'm going to play just little snippets from 2 songs really quick and then get out of here. This first one's Take It Easy. A lot of people are familiar with it.
Well, I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got 7 women on my mind. 4 that want to own me, 2 that want to stone me, 1 says she's a friend of mine. Take it easy, take it easy.
Yeah, you see in this song it sounds a little bit more like that soft rock. You hear a little bit of country twang in there, but yeah. And then this next one I'm going to play it really, really emphasizes how well they harmonized. This is a live performance.
There are stars in the southern sky, southward as you trees down the 7 Bridge.
Alright, yeah. So I just noticed I went over my 10-minute limit. Sorry about that. But yeah, I totally recommend listening to the Eagles if you're not familiar with them. They contributed so much to rock and roll, and I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. Thanks.